Your feedback at the end of this.
So right now, we're in a holding pattern for replacements, so we're not touching anymore. What we do need is that feedback that says, okay, today I can do this, yesterday I was able to do this, and that kind of information. I know it seems redundant for Jennifer to say, what can you do now? It's 8:30, what can you do now? But we need that information, because what happens on the back end side is things scale up and then fall down, and we need to figure out when that happens. What's going on? What are they getting on with? What kind of device is it? And that kind of thing. So bear with us while we ask for you for that information. And I know it seems time consuming, or I just did this an hour ago, I did this yesterday. It changes every day. The number of clients that get on, all that we look at when you call in, and we see, okay, who's on now, how many people, how many clients, what the kind of devices. All that is important right now.
Yeah, very well said. Having said that, this morning, have you heard of problems this morning?
The XP laptops, a student will log in and 30, 40 minutes later, they're not at the desktop yet. So, I mean, they really can't use them.
Okay. Do we think that's a wireless issue or the one-to-one issue?
We have to look at that because, in fact, we've done some testing here, and I know that if the user's already been on the device and it's on the wireless, that it will connect and work. So we would have to send somebody out to look at that. And I know we sent somebody out to look at some of the Noble tablets yesterday, but we will look at the XPs today. That's the kind of information we need to find out, okay? Because when you hear that and you see that, you assume it's the wireless. It's always something else. Yesterday on the Noble tablets, it was that they had dropped from the domain. So it wasn't a wireless issue per se. So send that information in. We'll look at it and try to get out to what's going on. But right now I can tell you that all the devices that we've tested here, the Androids, the iPads, any iOS device, Windows XP, Windows 7, and Windows 8 do work on the system. And when you call in, what we do is we can take the system here and we can take an AP and we can move it from location to location, which means I can make it think that it's at Hamilton. I can make it think that it's at Levi. I can make it think that it's whatever, and it acts exactly what you're doing. So I can see exactly what you're saying. So I can take that same school, I can add the XP to it, and I can try it right here, and I know that we've done that. So I know what those devices work. So maybe something wrong with the device, and that's why I say we have to send somebody to help look at that.
Okay.
Now, the 100 meg schools, I can tell you right now, if you're on a 100 meg school, and you know who you are when you connect, it's still going to be slow. So you can't compare that speed of somebody logging in on a 100 meg school on wireless as to the speed of a gig school. Totally different. It's going to be slower. It'll get you on, but it will be slower.
Just to interrupt, if you're asking a question, write something down so that they can go back and research and we can get the information out, okay? Because they're listening, not writing.
What about because like our one-to-ones were having problems before the break, and they kind of stopped using it.
I walked to the help desk this morning, Susan, at Cyrenic, someone called in about one-to-ones that they were unable to log in. I don't know. That may be a device issue. I don't know.
On the one-to-ones, what we've noticed is this, because of the time frame, not all of them were imaged before and they were just kind of back out. I think some of those are that's the problem with them. They were not re-imaged. If you re-image now, what I would do is maybe take one out of that class, re-image it. If you know it hasn't been connecting, re-image it and hand it back and see if it connects now. So that's a totally different issue than the wireless not working. I do think what we've seen is that those devices probably need to be re-imaged. And I'm not saying that's 100% of the answer, but that's probably the majority of those for now, without having to sit down and look at each one. That's the general consensus right now that I can say would probably fix most of your problems. If you know you've re-imaged them, then that's off the table, and we need to look at what else is happening. But right now, I can tell you, if you can't tell me that you re-imaged your one-to-ones 100%, I say you start with re-imaging first.
Okay. We updated the.
Yeah, it's totally different. Sometimes we fit the wireless settings.
No, we have the wireless drivers.
Yeah. No, it's not the. Yeah. I would try to re-image it. That would be my suggestion. I know you hate to hear that, but right now, without knowing what happened to that one-to-one device between the end of last year, handing it out.
Well, it started in November. There was a certain day where it just all of a sudden started in November, and it's been like it was like a month of nothing.
But like Larry said, every summer we took the effort to re-image, to start fresh. And because of I think it was a curriculum direction, were we going to use these, were we not? They were not re-imaged. So at a minimum, re-image them, and then we'll start troubleshooting.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one-to-ones, now I did re-image ours.
Did you?
And yesterday, Well, I was asked to prepare some for our department to use.
Okay.
But we've gone to Aruba, so I knew I had to run this applicant. I logged in on a wire, ran this applicant, then went back and logged in wirelessly to make sure.
Sure.
They were slow. It wasn't like other machines that, you can run it and you know you're good to go. You don't have to double check it.
Right.
So I don't know who called you, if it was an English person or a social studies person.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure
that's okay,
either,
I'll
but
check
yeah,
with
they were
that.
saying it was like 45 minutes to log in.
Yeah, but I was gonna say,
But they would, what he said was, as a teacher, you could log in, but students couldn't, and it didn't make sense. I was just, like I said, I was just walking through, I think Scotty took the ticket, but that sounds like something we need to look at.
this morning, I just happened to notice auto check, XP machines, I didn't really, took horribly long to get to that
Okay.
desktop. I listened to Sandra, now I know to watch out for XP. But about the imaging, I was wondering, I had to re-image some English ones yesterday, and they didn't come up with, I had to go ahead and run this up again. So even though we re-image them, we still need to run that icon, right?
It's
Because
already,
the icon has an X on it, it does.
the icon just means, it's built into the image. So all our images have that on there. That's, the icon that you're seeing in everybody's window, that's just there in case you need it. We're gonna provide tools for you, and we have some of that already. There's a manage wireless desktops icon in your window. If you click on that, it's gonna open up a window that tells you if it's already been added or not. And that's part of the thing that, too, is that I think there is honestly, I mean, I know everybody knows wireless. You go home, you connect to your Wi-Fi, you connect at McDonald's or Panera's, and you get on and you guys surf and you guys do that. I know you understand that part, but I don't think that we, as a district, have shared all the information about how we do wireless here. It's different than Panera's, it's different than Shell, it's different than everybody else. So we've been working on meeting with two groups, trying to decide, okay, here's the information they need on wireless. We're gonna provide a class on how to do that. I encourage you to sign up for that class and take that class. It's gonna explain how Cyfair does wireless on the back end side, okay? It's a little different, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes or say, you know, I make the assumption that you don't know what you're doing. I know what you know what you're doing. It's just a little different in this world than it is out there.
Query to that login page, and that's pretty much, I'm gonna say 90% of them. I'll say only 10%. And like I got mine on it,
Right.
and I had to mess with it for like an hour.
Right, there's a couple of things that we've done on the back end side. We've noticed that. There's different things on the iOS. Every iOS is different. 2, 3, and 4 iPhones. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all different, right?
Yeah.
And they all have different iOSs. I think there's different iOSs operate a different way. But on the back end side, not to say that that's all your issues, but on the back end side, what we saw is that the iOS devices were making calls outside of the redirect page. So before you even got to the redirect page where you're supposed to log in, the iPhone device, that iPad, is already making calls somewhere else, and it's trying to redirect itself already somewhere else. So we're fighting for that right now. We saw that recently. So it's one of the changes we made last night, is to try to stop that redirect that happens before you even get there.
I think it might be an issue with Safari because my Mac was doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, it's calling out, because when you turn on your iPad or your iPhone, it knows it's trying to connect to an Apple service, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty
So-
persistent, it's sending out constant
So,
connection.
before you even
requests.
pull up the login page, it's already tried to call that iWorld, wherever it is, several times. And it redirects itself. So it's redirecting you, and which one to redirect page, so you're getting a conflict of redirects, basically. So that's one of the things that we picked up last night. One of the changes they made last night,
Office 365, now that our mail is in the cloud, even if you're not even trying to authenticate it, if you've been on your phone and to check your mail and you're walking around, it is constant, your device is trying to connect constantly, and it's flooding the controllers. And that is part of our problem that we tried to address last night. We blacklisted Office 365. So that should take a lot of load off of the controllers. That's where we are right now with the wireless issue. So, but there are several apps that are doing
So you're
that.
saying like certain apps are going to be blacklisted to not be able to use on the
No,
wireless?
no, that's not what
No,
No.
no, that's something that we did internal just to address mail, but
Right.
that's not the approach that we're gonna take. That was a stopgap measure.
let me explain it this way. When you load Office 365 on your phone, who's done that already? When you load that device and you go to the App Store, whether it's Google or the Apple Store or whatever you go, it tells you when you get that app, it says you will now have these permissions on this device, right? You hit accept so that you can load it. When you accept that, it's going to say, I'm going to have access to your wireless, I'm going to have access to your phone, I'm going to have access to your memory, I'm going to have access to this. If you accept that, that means you've allowed it to do these things. So it's gonna do it automatically for you. So that's why it knows when you get an email, because it's checking for you. Because you get on the BYOT, you come in the building, it touches that SSID, it automatically, even though you haven't even signed in yet, right? You haven't logged in to the redirect page, you haven't done that yet. But that application is on. So it's making that call in the background. Goes, oh, there's no wireless, I see it. Let me see if I can get the information they need, because they need their email right now. That's what it's doing. It's trying to be helpful for you, but it's also killing the back end side.
Yes. Go ahead, Ingrid.
Regarding the hold, okay, so for the prep, the change, when you work that out, will I need to go and touch over 800 machines again to do that stuff?
Yes, that was my question, because since I'm sorry,
No.
since the Aruba and y'all have redone it, I have so many cards that need to be reran again. They're all off the network. I have to go in and rerun the Aruba again.
Well,
Is
I don't
that
have to
supposed
do
to be
that.
happening?
That's supposed to be what we see.
No, I don't believe so. I think the changes we're making now are specific to BYOT. That's where we see the excessive traffic from the applications. With the CP, you're actually logged into our network. You have, it's an 802.1x network, more secure, so the traffic is available to transmit and receive. But with BYOT, we see the traffic initiating without any authentication at all. By design of the captive portal, of the redirect to the page where you can then authenticate, we have to kind of present this web page for you without being authenticated. The application sees the network, this captive network that we, redirect you to the login page, and thinks it's online, so it starts sending data. So the blacklist is not necessarily restricting the application, it's just restricting that data from communicating until you log in, right? So anything on a card, to address your question, is kind of in a different network. It's on a CP network, so there may be an issue there. That's something that we'd have to look into more detail.
And another thing too is, once you connect to the SSID, and you said they connected once before to
Oh, we've done them all,
BYOT.
many
If they
a
connected to
times.
BYOT, they connected to the CP at one point in time. Those devices remember where they hooked up to. And for it to not hook up to that SSID again in the future, it's not because we made a change on the back-end side, because the SSID is still broadcasting the same. The passwords on the back-end side have not changed on that. It remembers that, so it looks for that. If it can't connect to that SSID again in a later date, that means something happened to that device. Either someone went in and changed it, or they went in and they were connected to underscore CP, and now chose BYOT and it's gonna remember, oh, I was at BYOT last, I'm gonna connect to that first. So they may not have the resources that they do, they may not get it to log into the network the right way. Those all come into play. So I don't know what happened in your schools, why it did that, but if they were connected at one point, they should not stop connecting to SSID, because we haven't changed that. If that's what you're saying, we'll go investigate that, but I'm saying, just from looking at it from how wireless works, it's not gonna change like that overnight.
No, okay, that, my campus is fine. We're going to see if ISD is, if we were I was preparing for
Sure.
the change.
Sure.
That preparation that I did, what I wanted to know, I completed it. I want to know when this hold is lifted, you exchange, is there going to be additional things that I may have
Should
to
not be.
do because I have to prepare for that?
A good example is JV. JV is a good example. Esmond went out and met with the classes, and they had the kids while the class were playing.
Side Creek or JV?
I'm sorry, and Side Creek. Side Creek was a good example. Not that Rock's not a good example.
Yeah.
Lewis is a great